I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. I want to show you specifically how the actual weaponization of government by MAGA Republicans work and how MAGA Republicans threaten and intimidate the normal law and order process to try to get what they want. And I want to also show you how we know they lie time and time again. So earlier in the day, Merrick Garland announced that he would be appointing David Weiss, the United States Attorney of Delaware, as a special counsel in connection with the criminal prosecution of Hunter Biden. Originally, what happened, and we announced it here on the MeidasTouch network and on the podcast, that David Weiss, the United States Attorney, Trump appointed, by the way, a Republican, David Weiss, that he was entering into a plea agreement with Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden was going to be charged with paying his taxes late, which was a misdemeanor, and Hunter Biden was also going to be charged with a charge relating to gun possession while Hunter Biden was suffering as a drug addict. And even the drug charge was just declared to be unconstitutional by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals and in numerous other circuit courts. As we explained to you, those penalties for Hunter Biden were actually more significant and more severe. The fact that he was even being charged with those things criminally than any other criminal defendant or any other American would be treated. And again, this came after a very significant investigation by this Trump-appointed United States attorney by a Republican. And David Weiss made it very clear that he had full control over the process, that Merrick Garland was not dictating the terms of this process, but the MAGA Republicans came up with this deranged conspiracy that Merrick Garland was interfering with David Weiss's ability to conduct the investigation. David Weiss sent multiple letters to the House of Representatives, to Jim Jordan and James Comer. He also sent a letter to Lindsey Graham. And in these letters, he said, I have full authority to do everything that I want to do. Merrick Garland has never restricted me in any way. And in fact, I've never even requested special counsel status. Here's the letter right here from July 10th of 2023, where he says, I've never requested special counsel status, but I've been specifically informed by Merrick Garland if I was going to request special counsel status, that I would be granted special counsel status. So anyway, a plea agreement was entered between the United States Attorney of Delaware, who, by the way, Biden could have fired. Biden didn't fire because he didn't even want the appearance of impropriety. And the plea agreement goes before a federal judge, and usually a federal judge just rubber stamps these plea agreements, ask some basic questions, but by and large wouldn't hold it to an exacting form of scrutiny. But there was a Trump-appointed judge in Delaware who was presiding over the case, who got assigned to this case. So the MAGA Republicans, all in a concerted fashion, sent letters to the judge, started, attacking the process, and they entered into the case as basically amicus briefs, and submitted letters to the judge saying that the judge should basically interrupt this plea agreement. And so there was a hearing held where the judge would approve the plea agreement. The judge asked some very, specific and pointed questions that were a bit unusual. And in response to the question, David Weiss, the United States attorney, after coming under all this pressure and heat from the MAGA Republicans, was like, well, I'm not giving Hunter Biden immunity for all of these different things. It's just related to these charges. And Hunter Biden's lawyers were like, the whole point of why we're entering into this plea agreement is because we want to make sure that, and why he's agreeing to charges that go above and beyond any charges that any other American citizen, is that Hunter Biden just wants closure. He wants to move on with his life after all of these attacks. So he's looking for closure. So obviously, if there's more criminal investigations taking place, there's no reason for Hunter Biden to want that. Hunter Biden will just go to trial on these very flimsy charges, these late tax payment charges, which very rarely get charged in federal court as a crime, and on a gun possession charge, from when he was a drug addict, which most courts have held to be unconstitutional. So that's where everything was left. There were, the plea agreement ended up not actually being entered because the parties had this disagreement after the Trump judge started asking these questions at the hearing. And then after the hearing, what happened was David Weiss asked Merrick Garland for special counsel status, and Merrick Garland granted special counsel status so that the judge could now prosecute Hunter Biden because there is no deal at all. The deal is off. So the prosecutor asked for special counsel status. As he told the Republicans he hadn't before, he was given special counsel status. And then earlier in the day, Merrick Garland announced that he had been given special counsel status. I want to play the press conference from Merrick Garland, but this is what I really want to show you afterwards. So after Merrick Garland gives him the special counsel status, what do the MAGA Republicans do? They attack David Weiss and they attack Merrick Garland and say this shows the weaponization by Merrick Garland. They created a fake conspiracy that David Weiss was denied special counsel status, which David Weiss rejected. And now that David Weiss is given special counsel status by Merrick Garland, now they say that's weaponization. No, what the real weaponization here is that the MAGA Republicans attacked a fairly ordinary and normal plea agreement, got a Trump judge to interfere with it, intimidated a prosecutor into breaking up this plea agreement, and now getting the prosecutor appointed special counsel, and then they claim that this is weaponization by Merrick Garland. First, let's play what Merrick Garland said at this press conference, and then I want to show you some of the statements coming out by these MAGA Republicans who say, oh, this shows weaponization, when it just shows Merrick Garland's following the process that always existed. Play this clip.
In a July 2023 letter to Congress, Mr. Weiss said that he had not to that point requested special counsel designation. On Tuesday of this week, Mr. Weiss advised me that in his judgment, his investigation had reached a stage at which he should continue his work as a special counsel, and he asked to be so appointed. Upon considering his request, as well as the extraordinary circumstances relating to this matter, I have concluded that it is in the public interest to appoint him as special counsel. This appointment confirms my commitment to provide Mr. Weiss all the resources he requests. It also reaffirms that Mr. Weiss has the authority he needs to conduct a thorough investigation and to continue to take the steps he deems appropriate independently, based only on the facts and the law. Mr. Weiss will also continue to serve as U.S. Attorney for the District of Delaware. As special counsel, he will continue to have the authority and responsibility that he has previously exercised to oversee the investigation and decide where, when, and whether to file charges. The special counsel will not be subject to the day-to-day supervision of any official of the department, but he must comply with the regulations, procedures, and policies of the department. Consistent with the special counsel regulations, at the conclusion of Mr. Weiss's work, he will provide me with a report explaining the prosecution or declination decisions reached by him. As with each special counsel who has served since I have taken office, I am committed to making as much of his report public as possible, consistent with legal requirements and department policy. Today's announcement affords the prosecutors, agents, and analysts working on this matter the ability to proceed with their work expeditiously and to make decisions indisputably guided only by the facts and the law.
Look, that is law and order. That is the process. So MAGA Republicans were complaining that this prosecutor was not appointed special counsel. He's now been appointed special counsel. He's always stated he had the authority to make that request and hasn't requested it yet. And now that he's received it, now the MAGA Republicans say that proves weaponization. It just shows you that there's nothing you can do for these MAGA Republicans who want to rip apart law and order. This is what a spokesperson for Jim Jordan said, as reported by Fox. Play this clip.
We are getting our first reaction from congressional Republicans about what has transpired within the last hour. We're hearing from a spokesperson for Congressman Jim Jordan, who is the chair of House Judiciary, and it makes it very clear that they don't believe David Weiss is the right man to handle this job as special counsel, even though he was the one overseeing the Hunter Biden probe to begin with. A spokesperson for the congressman saying that they don't believe he can be trusted and that they believe that the whistleblower's testimony has already painted a pretty damning light on where things stand with this investigation. But one of the key points going forward is the time frame here, because A, you've got a presidential election gearing up here every day, inching closer and closer. Will the special counsel still plan to testify before Congress, either in September or October? The Justice Department had already offered 4 different dates that we knew that David Weiss was going to be available to talk to those lawmakers. Whether or not that's put on hold now that he's a special counsel is yet to be seen. We have certainly seen special counsels go and testify before Congress before, but that's traditionally after their work is finished, their reports have been compiled, and the information disseminated.
Okay, let's be clear. David Weiss, again, is the Trump-appointed prosecutor. He is the Republican. He is a Republican. The MAGA Republicans made up a conspiracy that he had requested special counsel status and it was denied. He then sent them a letter and said, I've never made the request, and I've been told by Merrick Garland, if I ever do make the request, I will be granted whatever status I so desire as permitted by law. He made the request. He was granted the request, and that's Jim Jordan's response. James Comer's response is, this move by Attorney General Garland is part of the Justice Department's effort to attempt a Biden family cover-up in light of the House Oversight Committee's mounting evidence of President Joe Biden's role in the family's schemes of selling the brand. I mean, this is the most delusional and insane. The selling the brand. What the hell are they even talking about? What are you talking about? The fake whistleblowers, the dead whistleblowers, the missing whistleblowers, the Chinese spies, the 17 fake audio recordings, Hunter Biden's former business partner who was deposed and in the deposition stated that there was no evidence at all that he had that Biden got involved in any of his son's things. What are you, the brand? What is it? Pepsi, Coca-Cola? Like what are y'all even, like, what are you even talking about? And this is what they're doing all day now. This is MAGA Republican Congress member Smith from, I think, Missouri. And here he is, again, spreading these deranged conspiracies. Play the clip.
And jumping on the breaking news with us. First, what is your reaction to it?
It's great to be with you, Sandra. I think that this should be concerning to all Americans, that this is an attempt to whitewash the Biden family corruption. I mean, Mr. Weiss is the single architect over that sweetheart plea agreement deal that the judge in Delaware threw out just a few weeks ago as saying it was awful and unfair. There were provisions within that sweetheart plea deal that granted complete immunity to Hunter Biden for these crimes and future crimes. And she even stated that she's never seen anything like that before. And who was the architect of that? Now the person who, Garland, who President Biden's Justice Department just appointed to be special counsel. I am very fearful that appointing the special counsel is just an attempt to stonewall Congress's investigation of the Biden family.
You don't get more deranged than that, folks. And that I just wanted to, it was important not to just give you the news. Okay, you know, the DOJ appointing a special counsel and the Hunter Biden thing. Like, I get it. And by the way, my own view on Hunter Biden, if he committed crimes, prosecute him. I mean, it is what it is. You know, no one's above the law. Hunter Biden, unlike Jared Kushner and Ivanka, was not in a position in our government, not taking $2 billion from the Saudi sovereign wealth fund, not making $640 million while he's in the White House. But if there's any criminality out there, let the justice system play itself out is fine, but we have to live in an objective reality world, and the MAGA Republicans contorting the truth and reality, and they are the ones affirmatively weaponizing and having all of these threats and just coming up with 1984 Orwellian-style propaganda. But we're not going to let that go unchecked here at the MeidasTouch Network. We will keep on calling it out. Make sure you go to MeidasTouch.com for all the breaking news, all in one place, MeidasTouch.com. I'm Ben Meiselas. Check out the MeidasTouch podcast as well. Make sure you subscribe and have an excellent day.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.